So yesterday we made these graphs, and the way we made the graphs, just as a reminder, and for those who are absent so that you know how we did this, inside of our packet, we're all going to need to get to this eventually, so if you guys could please find this in your packet as well. Inside of our packet, they gave us this paragraph that told us about this tricycle race between Leslie, Kristen, and Evie. And what we did is we carefully read through each piece. Each sentence gave us some information about one of those three racers. And by reading the sentences, we were able to find two key pieces of information for each racer. We figured out where they started. So for example, Leslie started at the starting line. She started at 0. And we recorded that in a little table at the bottom here. So she had a starting value of 0. And then we also figured out what their change was. And their change, we figured out, was basically their speed. 2 meters every second was a speed of 2. So we had their starting value and their change. And once we knew their starting value and their change, we were able to write an equation, because we know where starting value and change go inside of an equation. Okay, do you guys remember doing this on Wednesday? And then, once we had their equations, we were able to graph them, because we know how to take an equation and turn it into a graph. We first start at the y-intercept. So Leslie started here at 0. And then we use our change, or our slope, 2 over 1, and we made a little slope triangle. We went up 2 and over 1, and we found some other points. And we graphed it until we got it all the way to the end. Now, I don't think that we labeled these last time, so could you guys please label? This one was Leslie. Put a little L there. We're going to need that. We're going to need that label here in a moment. The green one on my page was Kristen. And then Evie was the orange one on my page. So get those labeled, because we're now going to answer some questions about these three racers. All right, so could you guys please look in your packets? And let's look at, I'm looking at question A. Go ahead and read question A. I think we've done that already. Can you guys read that to yourself and decide whether we've done that already or not? It says something about writing an equation and making a graph. Did we do those two things? I think we're good on that. You guys are going to be drawing some more lines, so I'm passing out a ruler. Just so you guys are aware, I'm going to come around and collect these rulers from you individually at the end of the class. Please do not write anything on the rulers or pull the little metal strip out or anything like that. I'd appreciate that. All right, how about B? Part B asks the question, after how many seconds did Leslie catch up to Evie? After how many seconds did Leslie catch up to Evie? Let's see if we can answer that question. After how many seconds did Leslie catch up to Evie? Can you guys go back to your graph? Can you find the point where Leslie and Evie pass each other on this graph? And just stick your pencil on that point for me, please. On your graph, can you find the point where they pass each other? Are you feeling okay? I'm seeing folks with their pencil at this point right here. Is that where Leslie and Evie passed each other? That's where their lines crossed, right? So this point's going to help us answer our question. Now the question says, after how many seconds? Am I going to be looking for an x value down here, or am I going to be looking for a y value over here if the question is asking how many seconds? Which one was seconds? The x value was seconds, wasn't it? So look at that point where they're passing each other and tell me how many seconds into the race did that happen? What do we got there? I'm seeing 8 seconds. Is that what you guys are seeing? All right. Let's answer that. After how many seconds? I'm just going to draw a little arrow here. 8 seconds. Follow-up question. How far were they from the starting line when Leslie caught up to Evie? So we're still looking at that same place where Leslie and Evie were passing each other. This time they're asking how far from the starting line. So I think they're asking us for a y value. So get the y value of the same point and answer that question. So how far were they from the starting line? To me, it looks like that y value is 16. 16 what? Was it feet or meters or miles? What were our units? I'm going up here. I'm seeing meters. It must be meters. All right, we'll skip the rest of that. We'll just answer the question. Let's go on to part C. The winner of the heat will race in the big race finals. The race is 20 meters long. That matches what we see on our graph. That's all the higher our graph goes. The next question is, who won? Who won? Leslie, Kristen, or Evie? Who won? How do you tell who won a race? They're all getting to the same place. What's important about the winner? They get there fastest. They get there. Well, does the winner necessarily go the fastest? Not necessarily, because some of them have a head start. They get there, I'd say not fastest necessarily, but the soonest. The person who gets there first, the person who gets to the starting line or the finish line first would be the winner. So who got to the starting line in the shortest amount of time? Leslie took 10 seconds. Evie took a little bit over 11 seconds. Kristen took 30 seconds. Leslie's the clear winner. Leslie got there first. So who won? Leslie. And when you do the finals, you're going to see Leslie on there. And we'll probably not do that until next week. Oh, part D, how long did it take each participant to finish the race? I'm going to let you answer that, because I think I just said the answer a moment ago. We'll say for Leslie, for Kristen, and for Evie. Make sure that you're giving units. It says how long. So I'm guessing seconds will be our units. So you should be looking at where did they finish the race. Leslie finished here. Evie finished here. Kristen finished here. And then what was that time? And then the final question, E. The school newspaper wants to report Kristen's speed. How fast was Kristen riding? We should be able to get that from our graph, or we should be able to get it from our table. Which of these values in our table is representing speed, did we say? Was that the change or the start? It was the change. The start was kind of like where they started. The change was how fast they were going. What was Kristen's speed? It was 2, but we're going to need to give some units for that. 2 what? Speed is usually expressed in some distance per something. That's Leslie. What do we want? Oh, we want Kristen. My bad. Kristen was not 2. Kristen was 2 over 5. 2 over 5. Do you usually do speed as a fraction or a decimal? What would make more sense? I think a decimal. You've got a calculator in front of you. What's 2 divided by 5? I want to say it's 0.4, but can you check that for me, please? 0.4. Okay. So it's 2 over 5, but we're going to call that 0.4 watts per watt. In a car, we would say miles per hour, but this is on a tricycle. What were our units? Say again? Seconds per meter. Is it seconds per meter, or would it be meters per second? We do miles per hour, so distance per time. So I think meters per second. Good. Meters per second. All right, does anybody have any questions on that? Please ask some questions because I am done. From here, it is all you guys. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions about where we got these values in our tables? Any questions about how we turn the tables change and start into an equation? Or about how we graphed those? All right, turn that Big Race packet over to the second page. It should say Big Race Heat 2 at the top. And down at the bottom, you've got 3 new racers. Elizabeth, Kay, and Hannah have entered the race. Let's go ahead and create a table, just like we did a moment ago. So in a moment, your job is going to be to find the change in the start and write an equation for Elizabeth, Kay, and Hannah. And then just like we did on Wednesday, you're going to graph that equation. And then you'll be answering some questions about that race. Where do you suppose we're going to find the information about Elizabeth and Kay and Hannah? I'll give you a hint. We found the information about the last race here. Did you find it? Miles found it. Did you find the information about Elizabeth and Kay and Hannah? It's on that next page of your chapter packets. All right. So your job is to answer these questions for Heat 2 and fill out the table and make a graph. I will be available to help you, but I'm not going to do this for you, okay? So I'll be here to answer some questions. So go ahead and get started on that. If you finish it up, let me know, and I will get you started on our assignment.